And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Friday, February 23rd. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So we do have a guest for the show for today. We are joined by the new host of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, and that is Sam. And once again, my camera is acting up again, so I'm just going to fix that really quick. See, this like happens at least once or twice on the show, but now for some reason... Okay, there we go. We're good now. So we're joined by Sam. Like I said, the new host of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. Sam, how are you doing today?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. So yeah, I started off doing the baseball podcast, and then I switched over to football, and then obviously baseball was like every Friday, then it became every other Friday, and then Sam's taken over. He's done a great job. So this is kind of a passing of the torch, if you will, with this. So really, it's going to be a two-segment show, half-hour show. We're just going to talk about the off-season and preview the season as well, and then and that will be it. And then after this, I will do a half-hour show of the football podcast. So let's dive right into it. So Sam, what are some of your takeaways from the off-season? Because obviously a lot of stuff happened, but there were times, and I know like in the production meetings when we would talk about like stuff that we were show topics. You said there were a lot of times where, the offseason was just dead. And, yeah, there were plenty of times where that was the case. So it really, at times, was challenging to come up with things to talk about. But, like, what are some of your takeaways from some of the stuff that happened over the course of the offseason?
I think my first takeaway is going to be what everyone's takeaway is, and just how much talent is left on the market. I mean, you even going beside the Boris Four of Montgomery, Chapman, Snell, Bellinger, you have guys like Adam Duvall, Tommy Pham, Michael Lorenzen, guys that are still like difference makers on a team that were difference makers on teams that made the playoffs, and I think I'm surprised they're still out there. A lot of teams could use them, and I think another takeaway is kind of just the Dodgers and everything they did. I mean, when they signed Ohtani, and then it was mentioned they were still in on Yamamoto, I was like, okay, maybe that's getting a little overblown. There's no way they can do both. And then they did that, and they also traded for Tyler Glasnow and extended him, and then they also got James Paxton, and they've just it's my
Also,
takeaways
Teoscar
for that.
Hernandez, too.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, he had a huge double yesterday in the game. I mean, just an insane offseason. And when in an offseason where everything's moving so slow, they have gone just star after star after star. So it's been insane to watch.
Yeah, I know. And I honestly didn't realize when they signed Ohtani that they could defer all that money to when he's basically done playing, so they can continue to add. And then also they brought back Kershaw as well, because I know there was some
Oh yeah.
speculation on whether he was going to retire or not. Which I mean, I know the Dodgers now are looked at as the villain now, but I'm kind of happy he came back, because this team is loaded, and it's like this could be like your last chance to win another championship. Because I know a lot of people talk about the COVID championship as that kind of being kind of fake. So this team is loaded. So, and again, he doesn't have to be like the number one guy, because you have so many other guys that they added. Obviously, Otani's not going to be able to pitch this year, but like you said, Yamamoto, they traded for Glass now. You bring in Paxton, who could be a back of the rotation guy. And also on top of that, all the guys that they still have, like Walker Buehler, I know he was hurt, so he's working his way back. So, Kershaw doesn't have to be that number one guy. And even like as he's getting older, I mean, he's still pitching well. I mean, I think he had like a sub 3 ERA last year. So even as he's getting older, he's still, producing. And the other thing too is, being a Yankee fan, them getting Juan Soto. I'll be honest, I really did not expect it. I think a lot of people didn't expect it, either. I kind of expected them to do what they've been doing the last couple of off seasons, where they kind of make these like little moves, um, but nothing like significant. So when this started to gain traction, I was like, okay, maybe this actually has a possibility. And then once the deal was done, I'm really excited for this season for the Yankees. What were your thoughts on the Soto trade?
I mean, when I heard Soto to the Yankees for like first as a rumor, I was like, okay, that makes sense on paper. It's one of the best stars in baseball. The Yankees are, the Yankees. He fits your lineup perfectly. A big lefty bat. You needed help in left field last year, pretty bad. I mean, you had Billy McKinney playing regular,
Yeah,
games
Jake
there, which is
Bowers, Willie
Jake Bowers.
Calhoun.
Like
Yeah,
these guys shouldn't be starting for the Yankees. I mean, you have to look at it that way. And I was kind of like, okay, it makes sense, but are the Yankees really going to do it? Like we've seen the Yankees over the past 2 years kind of not doing what we've expected them to as the Yankees to do. I mean, they re-signed Judge last offseason, so good for them. But like, I mean, other things, just over the years where we've heard rumors about it and it hasn't happened. And when it finally did happen, I was like, okay, wow, they're gonna be really good. And I thought they were gonna get Yamamoto for the longest time, and I was
yeah,
really, really scared. So
yeah. I was kind of just like I was. It was really just a wait and see for me, because I know it looked like that might have been the case, but then you also had the Dodgers as well, like we were saying before, and they weren't willing to go, to pay, to outbid the Dodgers, which I'm honestly okay with. And I'm actually surprisingly I was okay with the Stroman deal. I think the biggest thing for them is they're banking on guys like Rodon and Cortez to bounce back and have
yeah,
better seasons, which again is a gamble. And there's a lot of players on this team that you're kind of gambling on to have bounce back years. So I mean I love what they did in the offseason. I think there's still more pieces to add. I mean, whether it's there's still some guys maybe out there that they might want to get, because I know Blake Snell is still in the news with them, because I think they're the only team that actually officially gave him a contract. I don't
yeah,
think. I
that's
mean,
crazy.
yeah, I know. So I don't know if that's gonna happen, but even if they go out and get somebody at the deadline, whether it's a reliever or maybe a starter, like I'm fine. I think the lineup is solid. I'm expecting big things out of Anthony Volpe in year two. Um, and the other thing too is my biggest complaint over the years was the lack of balance, because this team was so right-handed for so long, and you go out and you get Soto, you get Trent Grisham in the trade, you get Verdugo. Now you're gonna have like a platoon at catcher with Austin Wells and Jose Trevino. Um, I like the lineup actually has balance, and then Dominguez comes back too, who's a switch hitter. So, what myself and many other Yankee fans were calling for many years, finally they answered, and they gave us a lineup that actually has balance, which I'm again really excited about. So, we'll see what happens there. But some of the other teams that I was kind of disappointed in, and surprisingly, it's teams within the Yankees division, and that's the Red Sox and the Blue Jays. The Red Sox
Oh yeah,
really
yeah,
didn't do anything. I mean, they added Lucas Giolito, who was not good last year, and then you got the Blue Jays. They were in on Otani, but then they go out and they get Justin Turner, who's still producing. It's not like that was a bad move. Um, but you bring him in, you bring back Kiermaier, you sign Isaiah Kiner Falefa, then I know they signed Vogelbach to a minor league deal. I mean, this team has a lot of talent, and they just like year after year they just cannot take that next step. I still like their rotation a lot. Their rotation is one of the better rotations in baseball, but I just feel like they should have added more to this team, and they just really didn't do that. And the Red Sox, I mean, I don't know what's going on with them. They just keep
oh yeah,
subtracting.
yeah. First for the Red Sox, I mean, I kind of been expecting this with the Red Sox for a little while now. I mean, they haven't acted like the Red Sox. I mean, that Jordan Montgomery's still out there and it's spring
Right.
training. His wife lives in Boston. He's trained in Boston the entire offseason. And you're not gonna go after him. I mean, if you offer him a good contract, maybe a little less than what he was expecting, he's probably gonna take it. That adds just another dimension to that rotation that I think has some pieces. I love Brian Bayo. I think Garrett Whitlock, Tanner Houck might be able to do something. And also going to the Blue Jays, I think they've had a good offseason. The problem is we expected them to have an amazing offseason. I mean, there
Right.
was a point in the offseason where we thought they were getting one of Otani or Soto. Like they were rumored with both of them. And getting Justin Turner, getting Isaiah Kiner Falefa, they're good players, but are they really difference makers to win a championship?
No.
I mean, I don't really think so personally. I love their rotation. I love
Yeah.
Kevin Gosman,
Hmm.
but it's just I don't think they added enough, especially in a division where the Yankees added Soto, the Orioles added Burns. I mean, it's just not enough for me.
Yeah. I actually, to be honest, I was surprised with Gosman because I thought like when he had that good season with the Giants, I thought that
Yeah,
was like a fluke season, and he actually has turned into a really good pitcher. Um, it's again, like I said with the Blue Jays, they have a lot of talent. It's just like they can't take that next step. Like they played against the Twins, who hadn't won a playoff series in years, and the Twins swept them like it was nothing.
yeah,
So and again, like you have Vlad, you got Bichette, Springer, like they have these guys that are tough to deal with, but it's just they again cannot take that next step. Um, Also in the National League too. I guess we'll go over there quickly. So I know like with the NL East, you had the Phillies. They brought back Aaron Nola. The Braves they traded for Chris Sale, which I thought was surprising. And the Mets they made some moves to at least like be competitive this season, but I don't think we're expecting a ton out of them. And especially I know you did a video on this with Kodai Senga getting hurt. It doesn't seem like that's
yeah.
going to be significant, but again, he's going to miss some time, and especially with how thin the rotation is, that's something that you don't want, especially when we're a little over a month before the season starts. So, like, what are some of your thoughts on the NL East with these teams?
So, so first, to start with the Phillies. I mean, they just haven't done enough, in my opinion. I mean, Nola. I mean, a nice re-signing. I think it was kind of expected. There were some rumors that he might leave, but I think his heart was always in Philly. He didn't have the best season last year. I think that might be something to look out for in the future. He has a lot of innings on his arm. He doesn't get hurt, which I think may be a signal for the future that you have to look out for that. I mean, they haven't really done much after. They brought Whit Merrifield in, which I guess he's a good platoon player, nice little 10th man, I guess if you want to call it like that. But I feel like they should do more. There have been a lot of rumors about Snell or Montgomery. I
Yep.
mean, I think both would fit perfectly. I mean, you have the uncertainty with Zach Wheeler because he's a free agent next offseason. You also have Taiwan Walker, who has not lived up to that contract. I don't know why they gave him that contract in the first place, to be honest. Did not make any sense. And then I'll go to my team, which is the Mets. With the Senga thing, first we kind of expect this with the Mets. They are the Mets. I've been a fan of this team for 18 years. We just expect these things.
Yep. Got
I
plenty
I
of friends that are Met fans, so they're
yeah,
right there with
it's
you.
I was actually excited for the season. I was like, okay, you know what? We're revitalized. We got a lot of new guys in. We traded Verlander. We traded Scherzer. I love the prospects we got back. Um, I was a big fan of. I love the Severino signing personally.
Yeah, I
I
honestly
thought
think
he's
if he stays healthy, I think he could be good for you guys, and I hope he is. Like, I'm not one of these Yankee fans
yeah
that's like, oh, I hope he's terrible. I hope he does
yeah
well for you guys.
yeah. I mean, maybe I'm drinking the Kool Aid a little bit, but I've heard what he said in press conferences. He talked about how he hasn't gotten enough sleep, and he was trying to focus on not tipping his pitches last
Hmm.
year, and that caused him to not pitch as well. So I'm really high on him. I love the Sean Manaea signing. I thought he showed a lot in the second half with the Giants after adding a new pitch. Adrian Hauser, I thought was a fine number five pitcher, just kind of a guy you can rely on for 40 ERA, pitch some innings. Um, and then the Sanga injury kind of just derailed all that because he is our ace. I don't know if I want to go into opening day with Tyler McGill or Jose Quintana. I was expecting them to make a push for the wild card. I still am, but I think
Yeah.
the Sanga injury hurts it. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't, Jordan Montgomery, he's a guy out there. Like,
Mm.
I mean, I don't know why we don't go after him, especially with all the holes we're going to have in our rotation next year.
Hmm.
So that's something I would hope they're looking out after, but I don't think it's going to happen right now.
Yeah, I think like if the lineup is good, they could definitely make a push for that third wild card, and
Yeah,
I think the bullpen is going to be better. I mean, we'll see how Diaz bounces back from the Achilles injury because if he's anything like he was, before it, you guys, got your stud closer back, which is good.
yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, because again, you look at the Diamondbacks. I mean, they made the World Series at 84 wins. So like, who's to say the Mets can't do that? Well, I'm not. Well, I'm not going to say World Series, but at least like getting into the playoffs.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
all right. So we're gonna take our first and only break of the show here, and then we'll continue our discussion. We'll talk about well, we'll kind of preview the season, how we expect it to go. So we'll do that when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.